Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
This podcast is part 2 of WKRP in Cincinnati.
If you ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP.
Gordon Jump was the radio station manager, Arthur Big Guy Carlson, in the TV series. He'll tell the inside story on how the popular sitcom got its start. He'll even do a couple of lines from the show. Gordon also appeared in Soap, Diff'rent Strokes, and played the Maytag Repairman in television commercials. How did WKRP come about? How did the program come about?
Hugh Wilson, who is our executive producer, was doing the Tony Randall show. That show, I think, was probably one of the most marvelously written sitcoms that I recall. It was an excellent show. One day he asked somebody on the set, he said, "Why aren't the ratings on this show doing too well?" And Hans Conried apparently made the statement, "Well, it's because it deals with ladies and gentlemen." And so Hugh thought, well, how in the world am I ever going to put together a sitcom, just deals with plain people, plain folk? And he thought about a radio station as possibly having a setting for interesting character people. And one thing led to another, and he visited with the radio station in Atlanta. The manager of that station, I guess, told him what radio was like locally, inside and out. And Hugh, of course, being a writer for an advertising agency in Atlanta for a number of years, had a great deal of contact with the media people. So he had a feel for that whole thing. He thought that if he could combine the characters together that would run a radio station and make it real and believable, that maybe the public would buy it.
Well, they sure did.
After this was accomplished, we thought, initially we had sort of an in-house joke that people in just the radio industry and the advertising industry would enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first, too.
But suddenly people were coming up to us and saying, you remind me of my boss at the bank, or I have a superintendent that in our school system was just like, and people would say, I bought a car from a guy that's just like that Herb Tarlick on your show. And so we found out that our characters, although they were set in a radio station, had a great level of acceptance all across the country with people that worked with characters very much the same as you see on WKRP.
Boy, that's a relief, because I thought our staff was the only one that was like it.
As I travel across the country, Bob, and talk to people in your business, our business, the same statement comes back. Boy, you're really telling our story.
Yeah.
And that's neat. We like that.
Did you ever have any problems with the censors?
Oh, yeah, we always have a CBS censor that sits in on our rehearsals and on our taping. And they watch very closely what we do. The network has, despite what many people across the country may think, the networks have a very stringent moral code. And they watch very closely what's being said and how it's said and what language is used. They're realistic. They want the show to be real and to be believable. Because of that, they give us a little license, a little leeway. But they watch very closely the well-being and the moral values of the shows that they put on. A lot of people wouldn't be led to believe that.
Do you have to shoot 5 days a week, or what kind of schedule do you have?
No, Bob. We shoot 1 day a week.
I see.
We will start to work at 12 at noon. We'll get into makeup and costume, and we will go through and shoot each scene to producer approval without anybody else in the studio except the cast and the crew. We will break for dinner and come back then and do the entire show from, front to rear in front of a live audience. And that's about, they use about 90%, 85-90% of that show for what you see at home.
Can you let us in on a little bit of the one you just shot?
Well, Jennifer has always been having kind of a romance with a man that is referred to as the Colonel. today you find out who the colonel is, and after you find that out, he dies. And she's made executrix to his will. And she goes through all of the hassle that people that manage other people's wills seem to fall into when they have to deal with that problem and the family as well. So it's kind of a fun show.
You apparently don't have too big of a part in this particular show.
It's not bad. I console her.
Oh, okay.
I take her to the funeral. So I have a pretty good size role in it.
Give us one of your lines.
Okay, you want one of the lines? I'll set it up for you. I come in after taking her to the funeral. Bailey asks me where Jennifer is. I say, I've taken her home. And she says, well, how is she? I say, she's not feeling very well. She says, why? And I say, because it was like a three-ring circus there. He said the press was there. They had television cameramen, newspapers, photographers all over the place. And the people were running all over, trampling on the flowers. Had no respect at all. And that gives you some idea of what the show is all about.
Have you always been an actor, Gordon?
Oh, golly. Aren't we all?
You weren't in radio at one time, by any chance, were you?
That's right. I started with a station called KMAN in Manhattan, Kansas.
I'll be darned.
And was promptly fired. Interestingly enough, the man that fired me saw me do some stand-up comedy at the university, Kansas State University, a few months later, and he called up the manager of the television station in Topeka, Kansas, and he said, if you don't hire this kid as he comes out of school this spring, I think you're making a mistake. And so I got a call from the manager asking me to come in and drive up to Topeka so he could meet me. And that's the man I went to work for my first job in television. Interesting that the man that fired me was actually the man responsible for getting my first job.
Isn't that something?
Really is.
You have a family, Gordon?
Oh, yeah. Have a lovely wife. The best thing that ever happened in my life, I think. I have 3 lovely daughters.
What kind of reaction do they have to the show?
They wear it very well. You ask them, how does it feel to have your dad in television? They go, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I try to keep the family situation as normal as possible. We try not to bring the showbiz into the home. I leave it at the studio. When I come home, I guess I'm just dad.
Oh, that's great, because you people are big celebrities. I'll tell you, it's a very, very popular show.
Well, it is, and we're grateful for the acceptance that the show has had. We hope we can keep it going a little longer.
No, I'm sure you will. It's amazing how you keep coming up with great ideas for every show.
Listen, every day you live in your business, there's a new story to be told.
That's right. I've always threatened to write a book, but who'd believe it, right?
Oh, that reminds me of a story. I was back in Indianapolis during the summer and was talking to a station manager back there, and he said, my family lives in another part of the country, and I went home to visit them. And I said, what do you think of WKRP? And they said, oh, well, we don't watch that show. And he said, why don't you watch that show? That's my favorite show. And they said, your favorite show? Well, I thought they were poking fun at radio. And he said, no. He said, that's the way it is. He said, that's about the way every station in the country was. He said, oh, well, we wouldn't watch it because they thought they were putting you down. And he said, no. He said, watch it. He said, that's part of the fun. He said, that goes on every day at our place.
Sure. Just have them call me if they don't believe it. Gordon, thank you so much for talking with us.
Nice to be with you, Bob.
Appreciate it. And we'll keep watching our WOKY commercial. You did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. And you all take care.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Bond.